the most tremendous new musical experience you can have.
Alright y'all, what's up? It's Logan, and I'm here bringing y'all this review to this newest Gunna album titled Wunna. That's the stupidest title I've ever heard. That aside, this album is 18 tracks and 50 minutes of straight Gunna. Now, if you don't know who Gunna is, he is a trap artist who has blown up lately. You know, he has some work, specifically with Lil Baby, who, as you know, is one of my least favorite rappers. But their work together is actually really fun, really enjoyable, and they bring the best out of each other. My personal favorite work from Gunna is the work that he did on Not All Heroes Wear Capes by Metro Boomin. Of course, the track I'm speaking of is Space Cadet. I thought that track was absolutely amazing. Really solid vibe, really fun to listen to. You know, Gunna's a decent trap rapper. Like I said, he comes out pretty hard on most of his features, but whenever it comes to his solo work, it's pretty disappointing. Specifically throwing back to Drip or Drown 2, which if you've been following my channel for that long, you would know that was my least favorite album of 2018. I gave it the only 2 out of 10 I have ever given out, I believe. I may have given one out last year, but I have not reviewed or listened to an album and put it in a list that was as bad as Drip or Drown 2. That was a horrible project. But going into this one, I had heard some positive things about it. You know, Gunna is a fun artist to listen to, so I had some hopes for this one. I thought it could be pretty solid. At the very least, definitely an improvement on Drip or Drown 2. One thing we have to talk about, though, before we get into actually reviewing this project is the album artwork. Why is Gunna so bad at putting together good album artwork? I mean, this is one of his best artworks that he's put out. So, I mean, and it's bad. Regardless, let's go ahead and get into this review. I'll start out talking about some pros, move into some cons, go through the features, and then just give a quick recap at the end like usual. So let's do it. Alright, so the pros. He has generally good production on this one. You know, he can work with basically whoever he wants to at this point. He's gotten relatively famous. Everyone knows who Gunna is if you're listening to rap consistently. You've heard at least one song with him on it. So he can work with basically any producer that he wants to outside of, I guess, probably the legends, which he's not really going out and choosing to work with DJ Premier, I don't think, anyways. So, regardless, the production, very clean, very solid, very fun to listen to, as you would expect from a higher-end trap project. Apart from that, when he tries, he can have a good hype flow as well, as we know from songs like Space Cadet. And he does that on here as well, such as on the song Blindfold with Lil Baby, which I will talk about later. But at the same time, he can also have a more laid-back flow, such as on the intro track to this album, Argentina. That was one of my favorite tracks on here, and I thought that was a great way to intro the album. Now, as for the cons, there are quite a few skips or generic trap records on this album. Some of them can be enjoyable despite being very repetitive, very generic, such as Fiendin'. Whereas some of them can just straight up be boring, like MOTW. That just comes with the case of being an 18-track, 50-minute trap album. You know, that's just longer than what you want, especially from an artist like Gunna, you know. You go into a project like Future, you know, he just put out a 70-minute project, and every single song was really good, but that's Future. Young Thug could do it. People like that. But Gunna, I've never liked any of his solo work anyways, so for me to want to sit through 50 minutes of just Gunna with the occasional feature, nah, I'm not really here for that. And that definitely holds this project back a lot because, like I said, there are a lot of just generic skip tracks. Now going into the features, first up, we have Dollars on My Head with Young Thug. And on this one, Gunna comes with a chill flow, which for him is probably one of my least favorite flows. I like him more when he's going more hype. Yes, I know my favorite trap is sad, introspective trap. So a chill flow should be more fun. But when it comes to Gunna, that's not really what I'm wanting from him because he doesn't have that. He doesn't have the layers that really help out with that. Like Future, you know, he's toxic as you can be, so it works for him. Gunna, he doesn't really have that personality, so it doesn't work for him as well. That being said, still, it's a solid enjoyable flow over a decent beat. My one problem with Gunna's verse is that he is sacrificing his flow to go slower, to go more chill, laid back, and that results in him like being way too lax with his flow, and he kind of starts slurring words, which can be a bit off-putting from him. Still not bad, like I said, but definitely could have been more. Thug comes with a really solid verse, though. It starts off slow, but he really settles into the beat after the first couple of bars and fits in perfectly over this track. I really enjoyed Thugger on this one. After that, we have a track with Netchi on it. That's a skip, just straight up skip. Neither one provides standout verses, really. Netchi, he kind of sucks on his verse. I mean, his voice just does not sound good over this track, and I mean, the beat is very generic anyways. So, yeah, this is not a keeper at all. If you're listening to this entire album, you can skip this track after a first listen through, definitely. Now after that, we have Blindfold with Lil Baby. And on this one, as you know, these two have amazing chemistry together. They have put together quite a few hits. They have a project together. That was pretty enjoyable. Could have been better, definitely, but you know, they had some hits on that one, no doubt, and this is no exception. They bring out the best of each other. You know, I don't like Lil Baby at all, and Gunna only sometimes, but together, man, they really hit it out of the park usually. Great flows. Their voices don't even get annoying, and you know I don't like Baby's voice, so that was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. Now after that comes Cooler Than a Bee. Of course, me censoring the actual title, you know how I do it. But anyways, this has Roddy Ricch featured on it, and Roddy's infectious energy really works well on this one. He has that infectious energy kind of similar to the Baby, except Roddy can do. He's a little bit more versatile with his music. You know, he doesn't have just that one flow like the Baby does. Not to throw him out, he's not even on this album, but just comparing him to somebody, you know. But his energy is extremely infectious, and it works very well to help up Gunna's energy on this one. Both of them providing an easy-to-listen-to track over a very solid, kind of minimalistic beat, mostly focused on the bass line here. I thought this was a very solid track, pretty enjoyable, and I added it to my summer playlist. I think that'll be one that'll be fun to just ride with the windows down and all that. Now after this comes Top Floor with Travis Scott, and I'm going to just straight up ask y'all, what do you think a track with Travis Scott and Gunna is going to sound like? Alright, you've answered, and the answer is correct. I don't even have to hear your responses. Yes, it sounds exactly as you would expect. That being said, does it work? Absolutely, yes. They work very well together. You know, Travis Scott's sound is more smooth, well-produced, and that's going to work with Gunna's smooth sound as well. Yes, it's very generic, like I said, absolutely what you expect, but it's fun. I can't go out and say it's a keeper. I can't say it's a standout track, really, but it's not a skip either. Like I said, you're going to have fun with this track when you're listening to it if you listen to the entire album. So it's not a skip. And then finally, the last feature and the last track on the project is Far with Young Thug. And again, another lower energy track, which is kind of disappointing considering they also did that on the first Thug feature. So again, same complaints for the first one apply to this one. Gunna could have done more to spice up this track, but Young Thug does come with a good verse right there at the end, where he ups the energy, of course. So again, kind of the same thing there. Now if I'm going overall, how I'm going to break it down, a lot of decent songs that can be enjoyable if you turn your brain off and vibe to them, but at the end of the day, most of those songs are skips. The only real keepers are Argentina, Dollars on My Head, which that song, only the Thug verse is really worth going back to. Blindfold, if you're ignoring the generic beat, but again, that's not enough to take you out of the track. The song's very solid. Cooler Than a Bee, and Far, again, just Thug's verse. Those are the only tracks that I really plan to revisit at all. Other than that, I mean, like I said, there's some fun tracks that if you heard them, you could be like, okay, that's pretty solid, you know, I can sit here and vibe with it, but yeah, not really anything that I'm going to make a point of going back to, you know. If I heard it at a party, I'd be like, alright, yeah, that's cool. I'm not going to be playing it at any party, you know, that's what I'm saying. I'm not putting it in any playlist or anything like that, and I'm not coming back to this album as a whole. Now if I were to give this a rating, as you know, I just have started using my new rating system. So I'm going to tell you my rating, it's going to pop up, and then we'll come back here for the outro. So I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 10, with the context being Skip City. Now, like I said, there's a lot of skips on this one, so that's why I feel like that kind of fits in there. It could have been a ride or vibe one, but this is more of a turn your brain off and vibe to it, whereas ride and vibe is like, okay, I'm in the car, I'm enjoying it, I'm hearing what they're saying. And there's just so many tracks on here that really, I'm not adding, I'm not keeping, so I feel like Skip City is a better qualification for this one. 4.5 out of 10, pretty solid rating. Like I said, that's more on the upper end of a Skip City type album where you just have fun with it. Maybe it can be that turn your brain off type album. But that's where I see this one fitting in at. Altogether, that's all I have to say about this one, though. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, and sub. Hit the bell next to my name for notifications. Let me know what your thoughts on this one were, what you've been listening to lately, what albums you want me to review. I appreciate y'all watching, and I will hit y'all up next time.